Good evening.
I'll just watch the door.
As stated, I'm Dr. Erica Pooler, and I'm both honored and delighted to humbly stand before you today. When Kimmy called and asked if I would come to Atlanta and talk to the people that support the mission and vision of PMK and its awareness for the 5 cancers that affect women below the belt, not only was I honored, but I thought to myself, I pondered exactly what message is important to bring to these people. What message is important for the people that are suffering from this despicable disease? A disease that comes to kill, steal, and destroy. For those that want to throw in the towel because the pain is too difficult to continue to fight. Or what about the others that have survived these cancers and those that did not? So I thought, what would be the best message to bring to them? You know, cancer is something that affects each and every one of us, and it doesn't matter what race, color, creed, religion, it doesn't discriminate, and there's no prejudice. It comes in our lives and it changes us forever. It affects millions, it affects our children, it affects everyone that is with us as we go through the fight, and everyone is with us when we lose it. I wrote a poem called I Am, and I want to share it with you today. Because when you have so many things that come to you in life, and it doesn't matter whether it's disease or whether life circumstances, it's important for you to understand that you determine the final outcome. You determine how it takes a hold of you, and you determine how you're going to move on based off of that. So this poem is called I Am. I am or once was broken to the very core of my existence. I was a product of my environment, a vast makeup of my upbringing. My past defined and restrained me like brick walls, blocking my path and impeding my success. Statistics had me bound because it clarified the road that I was supposed to take. You see, blaming was my agenda and making excuses to fail was my story. The ability to press forward with the weight of the world dragging behind me was a burden that I could not carry alone. And the ability to breathe when I no longer wanted to live was also completely out of my control. At a distinctive point in my life, the power of I Am for me was redefined. It turned my negative outlook into positive overcoming, and my I can't attitude slightly removed the T. My I won't humbled itself into submission, and my brick walls began to shatter, enabling me to persevere despite failure, obstacles, or defeat. I chose to press, I refused to quit, and I did not allow my life circumstances to determine how I played my cards. So who am I? I am who I say I am. And I wrote that poem because we allow so many things to define us. If you don't mind, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my cards of life. You see, I was born to a mother who was addicted to crack cocaine and men that were no good for her, and born to a father that spent most of my childhood in prison. And upon his return to society, he made no efforts to get to know me as his daughter. Being abused, neglected, and molested in the home around the age of 4, I was taken away into foster care, separated from my siblings, and placed there until I could find a better way. But sometimes in your defeat comes a blessing, and I was blessed by my great-grandmother, Lily Mae Cole, who was born in 1918. She decided to take my sister and myself into her custody, and she also had my cousin. So we've got a very old lady trying to raise 3 kids. I began to continue to learn a lot of things from her. I learned the strength of a woman, the power of, God's grace, and to understand that I am not my past. I'm not what society says I am, but I can determine which direction I wanted to travel. But that didn't come easy because I also had some stifles, some problems along the way. In elementary and middle school, I would get into fights. I would get into all these different things because I was bitter and angry and didn't know how to play my hand. I didn't know how to deal with my cards. But I learned many things from her, and I didn't really get it until it was too late, until she was taken away from me. Back and forth between putting me in foster care and going back and forth with my mom, and, she'd be good and then she'd get back on drugs, and we were just always from place to place. I went to 8 different schools before I graduated high school. 8 different schools before I graduated high school. And it was just always, it was no stability. It was like, okay, it's too good to be true. If it's going good for a while, something's going to happen. So eventually, around 15, 16, I decided to move back home with my great-grandmother. I called her. I was like, Mom, she's back on it again, and I just can't take it. I was actually living in Georgia, moved back to Florida. So once I was able to get back with my grandmother, I realized this woman of strength, this woman of great feet just wasn't the same. She didn't walk the same. She didn't talk the same. She seemed a little bit weaker. Things that she wouldn't have let go, she let go. One thing about my great-grandmother, you didn't have to second-guess her. When she said it, she meant it. It didn't matter whose feelings was hurt. You're going to get it 100 from her. So she just wasn't the same person. And I eventually convinced her to go to the doctor. because she was one that never went. She had a remedy for everything. She patched it up, fixed it up, common Christian leaves, turpentine. She had something that could make it work. So eventually I was able to get her to go to the doctor, and the doctor basically told her that she had 3 months to live and she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and their time was running short. I was 16 years old at that time, and my grandmother was my everything. It was the only person left on earth for me that I could call to know they're going to be there. So I took that pretty hard. I was also born on my great-grandmother's birthday, February 1st. So we got to celebrate our last birthday together, and I don't even think she made it to 3 months. But a woman that was so strong, with great strength, I watched her crawl around on the floor because it was too difficult for her to walk. I watched her lose her independence, her responsibilities that were so great to her. I just watched her deteriorate based off this disease. So to stand with Kimmy today with PMK means such a great deal to me because it was something that was preventable. It was something that didn't have to be. And she never got to see how great we turned out. She never got to see the one thing she stressed was go to school, get an education, because it's the one thing that no one can take from you. And she only had a 6th grade education. So she would really try to get to us to understand that, you know, life is full of choices and opportunities. And she wanted us to be able to take a part in that. But I stand today with PMK, helping to find support for those that are victims, for those that are going through this fight, to help honor those that are lost and support those that are willing to be able to help us to find cures and intervention for the 5 cancers that affect women below the belt. So I thank you. And remember, when all hope is gone, we must continue to trust and believe.
We'll be right back.